Hello guys, this is the GDC Animator Intro tutorial. So first off, let's get into it. Uh, in the description of this video, there's a link to a GitHub that has all the required assets you'll need for this. So you can pause the video now, download it, and continue the video after this. I'm going to start off assuming that you already have it in. So what we're going to do is, in the assets folder, this is kind of what it's going to look like to you guys. We're just going to grab everything and come back to our Unity inspector, and we're just gonna grab it all. And well, first off, let me get rid of all this stuff. I already added them in myself when I was testing them, so let's just get rid of that. Okay, they're gone. So back in our Explorer, we'll grab all the assets besides this get ignore. We don't want that, so we'll just grab everything along with this and bring it into Unity. Great, so everything's in. We'll let Unity compile this stuff. So what I'm going to be covering here is getting a basic understanding of how the Unity Animator works, along with using DOTween, which is a package that you can use with Unity. It allows you to do math-based animations, so instead of having to make assets yourself and drawing everything, you can just use math to actually do animations, like moving things left to right, like at one point to another point, so on and so on. But I'll get into that later on in this video. So first we're gonna set up the scene. So if you guys have seen our beginner tutorial, you'll know that they made a quick game where it's like an infinite runner. You keep running and you have to dodge stuff. But in this talk, I am taking the movement script for this so we can actually show animation use for it. So the movement script, I believe, is the same as the one in that talk, so we will just recreate the scene. So we're gonna create a sprite square. Cool. We'll name this our player. We will also give it a child. This will be our ground collider, so we can check the ground. Ground, great. And inspector, we will give this a box collider, 2D. Just quick test to see if it actually falls. It does not fall. I did not give it rigid body. Great. We'll make sure the ground has a box collider. Great. It's also on the layer ground. This is important. If you do not have layer ground, you can add a new layer, give it a name. This setup will be the same as the beginner tutorial talk, so if you can just watch that. Going to give it the movement script, the one that you just got from the assets in here. Oh, not that one. Oh, I closed it. Well, this script. And we will attach it to this. Great, we already did. We'll give it, I guess, a movement of 5. Jump 2, our ground collider, which is this. We need to give it a box collider. Cool. And we'll set it up to be right under. We can zoom in. We will squish it down. You don't want to make it too small, or else it actually won't detect collision. So we'll just make it like that. I think this is a good size. We'll also make it a trigger so it doesn't block the player. Drop it down. We can move. We cannot. Oh, I did not assign the ground collider. 1 second. Drag this object into there. We cannot jump right now. I wonder why. Let me just make this bigger. 1 second. That is interesting. 1 second. Alright. Sorry, I had to pause the video for 1 second to figure out why that wasn't working. So on this ground object, which is our ground collider, we also need to give it a rigid body due to certain Unity physics engine details. We'll give a body type of kinematic, which means that we're technically telling the physics engine that we will handle the actual movement of the object, which we technically are. We're just letting it be attached to the player. We play it. Now, touch the ground. We can jump. And then we can also, over here, change it to like 4. That's fine. Ooh, we're jumping. Okay, now we're at the same point as the beginner tutorial from before. And now we actually get into the animator part of this talk. So, let's pause this, come back over here. So the first step in getting animation in Unity is to set up a Animator Controller, which essentially is the brain of an object's animation details. So if you want to run, jump, slide, or just stand, the controller will handle deciding which animation clips get played, and so on. So we're going to come back to our player, and we're going to type in Animator. It's called Animator, but on here we have the controller. So right now it says there's no controller, but to create a controller, all you have to do is create a clip, one clip. So up here, if you guys don't have this, you can go to these 3 dots, add tab, animation, which will be our clip thing. This you can open up later. So we'll create a clip. We will name it. Well, first, yeah. We'll make a new folder, animations, cool, and we'll call this idle. Cool, we have an idle now, and we also have a controller. The controller, it just gets put into the asset thing, but let's move this stuff to our animation folder. One second, create folder, animation. I do not know why that did not show up, but that's not a big deal. Player over here, move idle over here. So now there is animation folder. Great. We have a clip that does nothing. So if we look in if we try to play it, it's not showing anything. We can move this tab down here too. Nothing's happening. Nothing's changing. So it's just an empty clip. But we can add in our sprites now. So let's come up to our assets and our sprites here. We have all of these images that I gave you guys. They're included in the assets GitHub. But before we can do anything, we need to make sure that they're properly imported. So these are all pixel art. So we want to make sure that they come as clear as day. And what Unity does when you import a sprite or an image is that it does a bit of filtering to make it look nice and less computation. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this filter mode, which is by linear, and we'll change it to point, no filter. So basically we'll have exactly as the image was given to us. It'll be pixel by pixel, no changes. Great. All of our assets have been changed to that, and it should look fine when we actually put it in. So we're trying to put an idle right now, right? So let's look for idle. Oh, we have a bunch of results. We want to just grab idle without the sword. We could do the sword, but let's just do without the sword. So there are 6 clips, so we'll just grab all of them and we'll drag them into this clip over here. As you can see, our actual box has become a tiny little sprite that doesn't scale to our collider. We can change that later. But we have an actual clip now. If we try to play it, it's playing it very fast. And that's because of the frame rate that's because we're telling the clip to be played all these frames in just 0.05 seconds. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop this. We're going to spread out the clips farther out. So say 1 second is nice. Let's play it. Just gonna zoom in here. That might be too slow. Let's do half of a second. Alright, that looks nice. Now we have an idle animation clip. And if you go back to the animator here, it's also in our controller. So our controller now knows to, what this yellow line means is that's telling the animator to immediately run this clip when it actually starts executing its program. So this will always be the clip that runs first, this idle. If you don't have this Animator tab, you can get to it by going to our player, going to the inspector, going to the player over here, and double clicking it. And it should show up. Put in that. So I'll go game here, double click, takes us to our animator. Woo. So we have a clip, but our guy is way too small compared to its collider. So what we're going to do is we're just going to scale him up. That's reasonable. So the actual sprite's scaled up, but so is the colliders. So what we'll do is we'll just change them on their components. So their components lets us adjust their size of the box. So we'll just whoop. And let's offset it a bit. Okay. Just want to get it nice. Okay. And we'll also move our box collider upwards, and we will shrink it. For this one, we can actually just straight up use the scaler to just shrink it down. Get it up. Alright, if we try run this now, we can still jump, we can still move, and now we just have an idle guy moving around, which doesn't look authentic at all. But we have animation now, which is great. So what we're going to do next is we're going to actually add a running or walking animation clip. So we can actually go between idle and running and walking. So let's go to press our player. Whenever you want to add a new clip, you always need to have the object that has your Animator Controller selected, or else it won't know what to add the clip to when you're down here in animation. So we'll click on the name, create a new clip. We'll call this jogging. Great. Save. We have a new clip. It's empty. Nothing happens. If we come back to idle, oop, it's still playing. Now what we're going to do is come to our assets again, go to our sprites. Oh, this animation folder finally showed up. Let's just get rid of that. Yep, cool. And we will go to our sprites. We'll look for running, I think it's what it's called, or walking. Walk, run. There we go. Let's see here. Appears we have 2, 3, 4. Many of the same clips. 5, 5. We might have duplicates. 1 second. So we'll just grab each one by their numbers. So there's run 0, run 1, run 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we'll just do that, that, and that, and we will drag them in here. Try play. Our guy's running the speed of sound. He's Sonic, guys. Yes, we're also gonna spread out a bit. So let's give maybe 30. See how that looks? It's pretty nice. So when you do animation, you animate them in one loop, and the Unity itself will rerun it in a loop over and over again as long as you want. So now we have a jogging clip, and if we go to our Animator Controller, Assets, Animation, Player, we got jogging, but if we we play the game, oop, and we go back and forth, nothing's happening. We still have idle. Try move, jump, still idle. So now we need to tell the animator how to decide when to do idling and running. So, at least on the Animator Controller, it's pretty straightforward. So we have our idle. So it goes, and once we start the game, goes entry, straight into idle. And now we want to go to jogging. So we'll left click on the idle. We'll make a transition between idle and jogging. So now we have a connection of how to go whenever we're idling to jogging. We want to describe when and how we should do it. So exit time tells the animator to exit this idle animation clip to jogging in a set amount of time, but we want idling to happen as much as it can, unless we actually start moving. So we'll get rid of an exit time. So we have no exit time. And since we're not in 3D, we just want to immediately change to the next frame. We'll make the transition duration 0, so we'll just, as this picture shows, idling, then when it needs to change, immediately changes to jogging. But now we have no way to tell the animator when to change. And with this, there's nice things in Animator Controllers called parameters, so we can actually use variables to tell the animator when to change and when to not change. So we'll add a float. We'll call this speed x, on the x coordinate, moving left and right. And we'll tell this transition to change if the speed x is greater than 0. Yeah. And to come backwards, we'll just exit. So what exit does is it'll exit the loop and then come back to entry over here and come back to idle. We'll exit if speed is less than 0.1. So that's just a reasonable amount, close to 0. So less than 0.1, we'll just come back to idling. We'll also have no exit time. Want it to be immediate. Great. So if we try to run this now, still nothing's going to happen, because even though the animator has a parameter called speedx, nothing is setting the speedx to be an actual value. So this is where we'll go into our scripts. So in that movement script that I gave you guys, you can open it up, and whichever coding editor you want to do, so Visual Studio Code or Visual Studios or whatever, any kind of coding editor you can use. So we're going to come here. We're going to add a new variable. We'll call this animator, and we'll also just call it animator. We'll tell the script on start to grab the component. Oops. Can't spell. Great, so now we have a connection to the actual component itself. And we'll just tell it on every move call to do animator.set. I believe the function is called float. We'll grab the name, so speedx. And then we'll do the absolute value, because speed doesn't care about the direction. I believe it's mathf of rb.velocity.x. Great. So if we come back to Unity, compiled it. Oh, spelled it wrong. I think it's capital A. Alright, we don't have any compiling errors, so we'll try to run the game now. Oop. Oh! We can move! This is great! But the direction of our animation is incorrect, because if we want to go left, want to be turning left. Going right, want to be turning right. So, there's a nice thing with the sprite renderer, which is what's technically running our animation, which lets you do flip. Flip X. If I do that, you'll see that opposite direction, but it's not going right anymore. So we will take advantage of this in our movement script. So we also have a component already called sprite renderer. What we're going to do is, if the player is holding D, we will make the sprite renderer dot flip x equal to false. The sprite renderer dot flip x equals to true, and then we won't do anything if it's not moving. We'll just let it stay in the orientation that it was initially. So now if we come here, we try to run it. Whoa! Whoa! We can actually move now. Whoa! This is great. We can add one more script. You guys can use all these sprites if you want to make more animations, but we'll just add one more for falling. Jumping is a bit complicated. I don't think I will fit this into this video, but you guys, there are jumping clips, jumping frames in this sprite folder that you can use. But we'll just do falling. So let's go to our player. Go to the animation. Make a new clip. Falling. We want to be in the right folder, so we'll do it in here. Great. And we'll just look for falling in this folder. Fall. Okay. Let's make sure these are not duplicates. So some of these are duplicates, so we'll grab 0 and 1. We'll drag them in here. Whoa, it's happening way too fast. So we'll spread it out. Maybe like 5. Maybe a bit farther out actually. So let's do 30 like before. That is way too small. So we can, while it's playing, we can also move it. See how it's looking. Let's go at 10. Keep it at 10. This seems fine. Alright. We'll come to our animator. So, player. Great, we're in here. Falling. We want this to happen at any time that we're moving in a negative y velocity. So we're moving downwards. So add a new component. A new parameter, my bad. We'll call it velocity y. This one actually cares about direction. Any state, I'll make a transition to it. We want to make sure that the only state that it actually doesn't move to is from itself. So we don't want it to like have an infinite loop of falling. So we'll turn that off. We'll also make it 0 because it's frames. So we don't really care about, it's not doing 3D interpolation or stuff like that. We'll make sure that we're doing velocity as our condition when it's less than 0. And then we will exit when y is greater than negative 0.1 and less than 0.1. So kind of trying to do equals. We don't really have an equals case in here, but it should be fine. So we'll get rid of time, make it 0. We'll tell this to clear up and to be quiet. And we'll come in here and we will do animator dot set float velocity y, math f. Nope, we're not trying to absolute value. We just want to give it the exact direction that the velocity is in the y direction. We'll come back here. We'll try play now. Oop. We might have to change the range of velocity here. So let's make this 3.2. Let's go to the here. Less than 0. Let's make this less than 0.1. There we go. Woo. And if we fall off the edge, woo, gone forever. So that's a quick introduction to the animator. You can explore it more with the clips, try to make some more complex animations. You can do like jumping from the initial jump to animation up until you reach your apex, so then falling down. But that's a bit complicated for this talk. Next, I will be showing DOTween in use. So, first, if you haven't already, you can go to the asset store, and we're going to look for DOTween. Now we're looking for DOTween, Hot Tween version 2. If you already have it, you can press add to my assets. I already have it. It will then be attached to your, you have to be signed in for this, it's free. It will be attached to your account, so you can come back to Unity over here. We'll just go back to the scene. You can go to Package Manager. Let me just sign in 1 second. Alright, I'm back. I've signed in. So if you look down DOTween here, we will import it into the project. You'll import all of its assets. It'll say you want all of this. Great. Yes, we want it in. While it's adding in, we'll just wait for a second. Alright, I'm back. It's all been added to the project, and now we have this window. DOTween has the initial setup you have to do. I don't quite know what happens in the background, but it's required. So we'll press setup DOTween. We'll also wait for a bit. Press apply. Great. So now DOTween is ready to use. So I've made a script that was also added in the assets folder. Activate DOTween basic. So this just basically checks if whatever we're on touches a DOTween object. It's just so we can demonstrate DOTween's in use. So we will attach this. We will attach the script called, if you look in our project folder, activate tween, attach it to the player, and we can just demonstrate some uses of DOTween. So let's make a circle, put it down here, give it a collider. You can explore the scripts that I've made. They just activate DOTween stuff that you can customize some DOTween calls, and it will just activate them for you. Might do a trigger. Also add a basic DOTween. We'll play. It's not gonna do anything because in the script for this DOTween it's not really. You just look inside basic. It just says DOTween performed. Cool. So what's nice about DOTween is that they have their own documentation about certain things you can do. So let's look through the documentation. let's just do a movement. We'll just move from one point to another point. So we'll do a movement from one point to another point using DOMove. It takes a vector 3, so a position we want to go to, how long it takes, and then if we want it to be snapped or not. So let's go into our Unity thing. Let's just pick some position. Let's just make a spray box somewhere here. Let's see what we want this circle to reach up here. We'll just create a new script. We'll call it DOTween move. Great. Come in here. We'll open it up. We'll tell it to inherit from DOTween basic, because it will also take these functions that they're called from the activate tween. It's a bit of inheritance if you're familiar with object-oriented programming. We'll also grab using DOTween, GDC, and we will just override public override void. It's called DOTween, and we will tell it to do. I believe the function is called DOMove. We'll just grab some transform. Position outside. Let's just give it position dot. Oh, we'll just change this name. Transform desired transform dot position. That should give us a vector 3. We'll give it a duration of, let's say, 5 seconds. And sure, let's try to do snapping. Let's come back to Unity. Hopefully it doesn't complain with us. It does complain with us. Give me 1 second to figure this out. Alright. Sorry for taking too long. I'll come back. So the correct call is called transform.doMove. Give it a position. And then a certain amount of time. If you look back in the documentation over here, transform.doMove, new vector. You can also do rigidbody.doMove, or you can use the color, material.doColor. So we're going to take some sort of transform, which is a component that belongs to every object. It just represents their position, rotation, scale. We'll grab the position, which is vector 3. We'll give it a time, so 5 seconds. And we'll come over here. We will give it to the script, DOTween move. We'll grab our square, so we'll just drag our square into here. It will give us its transform, and we can play it. Woo. And now it goes in 5 seconds. If anybody's counting, let me know. I'm not. Great. So we'll make a new script called DOTween color. We'll grab the base tween again. We'll also import the package for, it's called DGTweening. We'll do override again. We'll grab the sprite renderer. We're going to have to do a bit of a trick because we need the sprite renderer for this. We'll come to our basic and we'll just change the method to be public virtual, which allows us to define more than one version of itself. And the color will do base.start, which runs this part, which is important. And then we'll grab the renderer, so we can actually call renderer.doCall desired color 5 seconds. And we can come back to our thing. We'll give this object, the circle, the color again, whichever one we want. Let's make it this blue. Nice. And it will do it in 5 seconds. So if I run it, run up to the object. Oh my god, it turned blue in 5 seconds, which is great. So yeah, DOTween allows you to do animations for com components or detailed values in Unity objects, such as their positions, their scales, their colors, and other things. I believe DOTween allows you, it's pretty modular, so it allows you to set up certain things for your own objects, but I'm not quite sure. You'll have to look into that. But yeah, rect transform online. So this is UI stuff. You can do for scale. You can do shake, so you can get the camera to shake, or you can get the other objects to shake position. Depends on what you want. But yeah, DOTween has a lot that you can do with it. So that concludes this tutorial on animation and DOTween. I hope it was useful. And yeah, see you guys.